Today I'm going to cover transformation secrets and just kind of do what I do. You know, there's so many different coaches here, a lot of smart coaches, all unique, and what's cool is I think it's quite a diverse range of people, you know, really big personalities, loud, and then you got me, like whatever the fuck this is. I got Baby Yoda on my shoes, but for me, transformations are what I do. I'm passionate about getting results. You know, there's so many different ways to really do good things in the fitness industry these days, and that's, as I said before, it's cool. You know, you got guys like Lane Norton who super smart, great at so many different things, and then you got people like Hattie and Lauren are, you know, super strong, hot. You got like Sebastian Oreb, strong, hot. Quiet, Lane. So there's a lot of different people here who have all different skills, but if you guys know me or if you don't know me, something I talk a lot about on my social media is I've always just tried to be a coach. You know, I always like to think that is kind of my bread and butter, and a lot of people do these days courses and the first thing they do is kind of, let's get rich. That's cool, you know, you've got a job and you're trying to make money, but my kind of business ethos, I guess, has always just been, just be a good trainer. So my goal at what I do is just to be the absolute best. And, you know, I often talk a lot about kind of my mental health challenges and all the different things I've struggled with over time. But the one thing I never have confidence in is my abilities to get results. I truly think, like, when it comes to results, if I had to put every dollar I have on the line, I had to bet that I could get better results in 12 weeks than all of you, I reckon I'd crush all of you. But I'm not saying that in a way like, you know, that's just your confidence mindset, and that's what all you coaches should think. If you are working really hard at what you're doing and believe in what you're doing, you should feel like you're the absolute best. And it's important because that mindset will help you seek out great results. And we'll also talk about is that being a coach who wants to be the best, clients also gravitate towards that. They want to work with someone who's really elite. They want to work with someone who thinks, fuck, this guy has the method to success. I want to work with them. And that's one of the big things I notice is a lot of coaches just struggle with confidence, and, you know, they worry about all these things in the world. But if you can just be really fucking good at what you do, you're going to be better than 99.9% of coaches out there. Like, all of you guys here, amazing, you're invested into yourself. Go to most commercial gyms around Australia, around the world. Every motherfucker sucks. They just, you know, they're not working, they're not always upskilling, and that's not trying to say it in a bad way, but everyone's just, you know, a babysitter or a rent-a-friend. Someone pays you to hang out with them. We don't want that, we want to get results. And so today's presentation is transformation secrets. I'll let you in on a secret. There are no secrets, but what we'll cover is why transformations matter as a personal trainer, because they actually really do. People are visual. People like to see things and go, wow, that's me. I'm here and I can be there. That is the idea of seeing where a before photo is and then seeing an after photo. People relate to that because they see people who look like them and they see themselves in that before photo and then think, wow, that could be me in the after photo. It basically brings what you do to life. And I often like to say that client results are basically your resume. So I've got tattoos, right? If I want to go seek out someone for a certain tattoo, I'll go to the Instagram profile and see what they do, see their results or see their tattoos. Same thing with results. And I know feel a bit weird with transformations and results and stuff like that, but for me, it's really helped drive my career and drive my ability to attract the people I want to work with. And that's really important. And something I don't think coaches do enough is they don't try to be themselves or be who they want to be in a way that they're too much at the demand of what they think people want them to be. So what I mean by that is, how I coach, I do that, and I do it really well, and then I try to attract people who want to do what I do. And then, yes, there's going to be some hits or misses, but over time you're going to get more and more people who believe in what you do, and then it gets actually easier and easier and easier when you're working with people who want to use your actual methods. So, how have transformations helped my journey? Now, the big thing is, for me, my results dramatically help my confidence and confidence, self-esteem, whatever you want to call it. When I became a personal trainer for the first few years, I was just kind of going through the motions, doing what you do. It was a very different industry to what it is now. And then I started doing more courses after a fair few years and learning. And I remember I just felt like majority of personal trainers just turn up, get paid, and that's it. And that wasn't very fulfilling. And then all of a sudden I started learning and then applying. And the coolest feeling in the world is when you go invest your hard-earned money into yourself, into courses. Most personal trainers not making a lot of money starting out, and you go invest into yourself, and you work really hard, and then you apply it to a client. And over time, 8, 12, 16 weeks, whatever it is, you see them transform. And that's super, super awesome. Like, I remember myself growing up, a lot of my mental health challenges started when I was young, and I was like desperate to change my physique. And I always think back right now, it's like, oh man, I wish I knew what I wish I knew then what I know now. For me, I spent years and years, I started training when I was like 13 or 14, and I really, really wanted to get jacked, and I wanted to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I thought if I got jacked, I'd be able to get lots of girls. I got a little bit jacked, girls didn't care, the guys did, so that was all right. But for me, as a coach, what is always nice, anything you do in life, is that when you put effort into something, you get validated. And when I say validation, it's like, all right, I've learned this, I've gone and applied it, and what has happened? My client has got amazing results. That is really cool. And the benefit of amazing results are, people see it, and they tell people about it. You can post about it these days. It gets easier than ever, to market yourself. And the bottom point there is like attracts like, and I can't stress this enough. Like attracts like. So what I mean by this is, let's say I put out 3 insane results with clients. Is everyone going to be happy with that? Is everyone going to be like, oh, I want to look like that? No. But you're also going to attract people who do want that. And all of a sudden, you start to get people who are really fit what you want to do into your business. And this is really, really important. It actually gets easier and easier and easier as a coach the better you get, because you start attracting better and better clients. Basically, when it rains, it falls, or whatever, there we go. And what happens is you start getting some good results. It sucks at the start, right? You're trying to get clients, you're trying to get results. And over time, you start to get a good result. And then you get another good result. And all of a sudden, you start to be known in your gym as the person who gets results. And a lot of people aren't going to care. They're not going to be like, oh, cool, I want to work with them. Because a lot of people don't really give a fuck about getting results. They just want to say they have a trainer and whatnot. But the people who do want results, they get attracted to your methods. That's great, because then you're getting more and more. And all of a sudden, you're starting to build your portfolio of results. And you put more out and more out. And that's one of the big things I notice so many trainers don't do enough, is when they get a result, they don't share it. They don't show what you can do for people. It's like, oh, you have to hide that you did a great job. No, own that shit. Tell the world you're amazing. Tell the world that you can help people in that specific thing that person wanted. That's important. So again, like attracts like. If you want to be a coach in a certain thing, put those results out. You'll be surprised. Over time, you'll get more and more and more people back. And it gets easier and easier and easier. And then you get better and better and better as well. So it's just this compounding effect of you getting better, you practicing your craft more and more, you're getting more and more great clients, and it gets easier and easier and easier to continue basically that compounding effect. Some of you guys might know me, some of you guys don't know me, so I always like to kind of tell people a little bit about myself, just because I think it's important when someone's talking to you. Is this person legit? Are they just chatting shit? Whatever, like most social media. So yeah, I've been a coach for 17 years. I used to be the global head of education at Clean Health like 6, 7, 8 years ago or so. You know, I've done courses, my own seminars all around the world. I think 4 different continents. I've done, so you name it, I've done it with education, lecturing and stuff like that. So when, you know, I got asked to do this, people were like, are you nervous? No, this is easy and stuff like that. So it's fun talking to people and talking to coaches. Like that's one of the, you know, I'm pretty introverted in life. Like it's hard to get me away from leaving my animals, hence animals. So, but I'm here because I enjoy doing this stuff. So with my business, you guys know my business. If you don't, I sell a lot of training programs, which is cool. And the big thing with my training programs is I'm selling my training programs not off me. I'm not the world's greatest looking person. Sorry, Lauren. But I'm really, really, really fucking good at doing what I do. So I find people who I can help and I just create program after program, make people get amazing results, and then they tell their friends, and then they tell their friends, and it just compounds and compounds and compounds. So me saying I've sold over 200,000 training programs, that's a lot. I think there's like 450 people in the room, so you guys can do the numbers of what that looks like. It's a fuckload of people, okay? My programs average around about $150, $180. So again, you can do the numbers. It's allowed me to be in a position to, you know, sell a lot of programs. It's allowed me to do other things. You know, I've been fortunate to have a business that's made tens of millions of dollars. Then allows me to invest, which then I've then further made tens of millions of dollars in investing. So point is that me being good at what I do with training, just a trainer, has allowed me to grow and grow and grow my life, okay? So I've coached a lot of big name people. The last few years it's changed a little bit just because of my business and the size of it and what I can work with. I've coached obviously Lauren when she won the world WBFF title. I've coached a client called Nura who won the world WBFF title. Yes, second point. I coached Lauren to the world bikini title and I also knocked her up. And women say you can't get a lot done in 30 seconds, yes. I just laid there. And then, again, results have put me in position to be able to, you know, even know Lauren. That's where I got hired to train Lauren. You know, people like, I'll get into it in a little bit, but me being able to get results and opens up doors for me to be able to train bigger and bigger people. And opens up doors because when I did get a client, what did I do? They absolutely fucking crushed it, told everyone about it, me, to their massive audiences, and it again allowed me to grow. So at the stage, I think I had 6 or 7 girls with over 1 million followers. I was training 5-6 years ago. I coached my friend Emily King, who just, I didn't coach her recently, but back in the day to the Australian figure title. So this was kind of help basically consolidate what I did. You know, I was coaching many, many girls who, you know, I purposely never tried to take on too many clients, but every client I took on basically would either win or come top 2 or 3 or whatever. But that was great, but it's still, what I did with them was actually not all that different to what I just do with my general population transformations, okay? So, yes, training big name people is great. It's really, really good, right? But how do you get there? Okay, well, how I got there was getting really, really great transformations with people. So these results allowed people to go, wow, this guy's legit. And then my clients were lovely enough to share me out to the world and tell everyone about me. So these results allowed me to just keep showing people that I meant business. If I said I'm going to help you get an epic result, well, then I'm going to help get you an epic result. My results are what drives me, and this is why I'm on stage. I'm not the loudest, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the best looking, I'm not the strongest, but I'm really, really good at this shit, okay? And then here's 2 clients that really also put me on the map. So on the left is Fit Girl Mel. So I trained and mentored Mel. Mel used to coach Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. So I was training Mel, I forget, 2018, 2019, and she hired me for mentoring, and I was training her when she was doing that. So that opened a lot of doors in America for me. Hannah Oberg on the right. Hannah was over in Sweden, and she had about 2 million followers, and I think we did an 8-week cut for that, and then she put it out, and I think that her post got like hundreds of thousands of likes. So here I had Lauren and a few other girls in Australia telling the world about me. I had Mel over in America telling the world about me, and I had Hannah over in Europe telling the world about me. And so it just allowed me to grow and grow and grow. But the big thing is, and just the thing on with the Mel on the numbers there, I remember that post she put up, or I think we both put it up. The big thing was this post I remember she put up, I think I got like 14,000 followers in the day. And all it showed was that I taught her that she could eat more calories and not just instantly put on weight. So she was kind of living on, low calories, and all I said was, here's the education, you're not gonna die, you're not gonna lose your business, you're not gonna have Kim Kardashian want to not work with you anymore if you eat more calories. And all of a sudden, just showing, I think, 6 weeks of just mentally getting her here. She could have gone higher. That wasn't a TDE, that was more just mentally putting her in a position to eat more. Again, just that, even though it wasn't quite the transformation, so to speak, again, great clients, telling people about you is always really, really important for your business. So I'll keep drilling it in, okay? Results, results, results. This is what I'm passionate about, okay? So, secret number 1. This is something I don't see many people talk about with getting great results. So just so you know, I wanted to do 6 secrets, and what I want to do was secrets where it was for people who, 'cause I know everyone's at a different level. Some of you personal trainers, some of you are new to the industry, some of you more advanced in the industry and whatnot. So I just wanted to give you some things that I thought would help. At the start I was like trying to think of all these advanced kind of crazy strategies I use at times. And in all honesty, incredible results are just mastering the fucking basics. Everyone wants to be this superstar coach, but nobody just wants to master the basics over and over and over. Like when I invest in things, I do really boring things, which I know are just going to give me small wins and accumulate. When I train clients, I do small basic wins each week, which those wins accumulate and add up, okay? So, secret number 1, and this is really important, because here I'm talking about being that coach to get epic results. You want to be a superstar transformation coach. Amazing. But, firstly, not everyone is a correct candidate for a fat loss transformation. Big mistake coaches make is they force things onto clients that don't actually want that. Okay, this is where you fuck up. What I mean by that is, you get a client who hires you, and they're going through a lot of mental health issues. I know it very well. I went through my mental health issues a lot, different times in my life. When COVID happened, I got depressed, more so than normal. And I put like 16 kilos on. I didn't go to the gym for like 8 months, and I put like 16 kilos on. And then at the end, when we kind of went into that part where we could go back out and do stuff for a little bit, I was like, I'm gonna get this epic transformation. I'm gonna have the greatest transformation ever. But the thing I forgot was, I was still mentally in a horrendous place. I wasn't ready to go through a hard diet. Me getting leaner and stuff like that wouldn't fix my mental health problems. It just actually compounded it. All right, so the big thing is, what I believe is clients mentally need to be in a really good place to do a really epic transformation. And just so you guys know, when I'm talking about transformations, I'm kind of using like that 8-12 week kind of range. You can have a 1-year transformation, 2 years, or we're just talking about fat loss before and after, just so we're on the same page. But a big mistake coaches make, and they think, I'm a shit coach, I can't get fat loss transformations, I don't get results. You're actually not a bad coach. You can have a lot of knowledge, but often you're just trying to force something onto a client who actually isn't a prime candidate, okay? You'll know when you train someone and it's just so easy. You tell them the plan, and they just boom, 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 boom. They just do it. You know you've got the method to success, and they follow it. They don't fight you on it, or if they do, it's like little things and they're just learning. That's great. That's what you want. Getting great results, again, as I want to keep drilling in, should actually be pretty easy, smooth sailing. So it's like a relationship. If you ever date have a bad, toxic kind of relationship where every day is like a fight and it's like, oh, love's pain. No, that's stupid. Okay, you want a relationship that should be pretty, it's good majority of the time. It's just easy. It comes naturally. Same thing with working with people. And the big mistake I find coaches make is they're trying to force things onto clients who aren't prime fits. So perfect candidates usually will be, self-motivated to some degree. They're coming to you telling you what they want. You're not begging a client, oh, please, can we do this, fat loss phase? Yes, you can educate them on what they need, but it should actually be them wanting it. Big mistake is when you want things more than them, okay? And that never works out well eventually when motivation wears off. Another one is they have a strong why behind their goal. So a why doesn't have to be this deep meaning of I want to, solve world peace and all this stuff, okay? A why can just be I just want to look fucking epic. That can be a why for some people. Another big thing is ideally they have some experience with training and dieting. It just helps the learning process and them dive in. And again, another factor is they're actually in a point in their life where training, dieting fits well into their, their lifestyle. Sometimes they get women message me like, oh, I'm a mum of 4, I work 2 jobs and I want to look like your client. Can I train like her? And I've got 2 days to train. I'm like, well, this lady here, my client you're messaging me about is 22 years old, a PT, works at the gym, and oh, by the way, she was on 1,100 calories for those last 2 weeks because she did a comp. Like, there's different levels, and people don't realize this, the general public, what people do to get great results. They just think, well, everything's easy. So you just need to reframe that. So, again, I just want to drill in. Epic transformations, guys, just simply start with finding the perfect candidate. You'll notice your results will go through the roof when you know which client to push, which client also not to know when to hold back. It's okay for a client to come to you and go, you know what, right now, let's just do a maintenance phase of 12 weeks. People always say, oh, I like to say building's a goal. Dieting and calorie deficit is a goal, but maintenance can also be a goal. Maintenance can be the perfect thing for you for a period of time. Get them mentally ready, improve their habits, get them training well, and then move to that transformation. All right, secret 2, when and how much. So, something I noticed probably like 6-7 years ago when I started doing a lot of this stuff was that when trainers kind of work with general population clients, so we say Gen Pop, just means just your everyday person, not trying to compete or an athlete, was that they kind of signed up and was just like, cool, you want to lose weight? Great, let's do that, let's hope for the best. There's no real strategy behind it. Whereas for me, the way I've always looked at transformations are the same way I look at a comp prep with a client. A comp prep is knowing you want to get a person an epic result by a certain amount of time. A comp prep primarily is going to be getting someone leaner and getting them to adhere to the really hard rigors of dieting and getting them lean and look insane. But when you're doing a comp prep, what you always want to know is when their comp is. So you have a time frame, you know when. And then you also want to know ideally how much weight they need to lose to be at that level of condition. So that's why I go back to when and how much. So when do they need to lose the weight by and how much weight do they need to lose? Problem is, so many people don't actually do this as coaches. What happens is they sign and go, oh, amazing. You want to lose weight? Cool, let's do that. Or a lot of the time coaches are just happy to have a client. They're like, oh, cool. I hope this client doesn't cancel in 3 weeks. So it's not really strategizing with a goal. So when you sign up with a client, you want to really be specific with what you're trying to achieve. Goals are these funny things, right? Goals can goals when done well can really make someone level up. Goals when done well can make a person be held accountable to, yes, but it also makes people go, oh wow, I can actually really do big epic things, bigger things than I've realized. So I love setting big goals with my clients. But when you're setting a goal with fat loss, you want to know when they need to do it and how much you need to lose the weight by. This becomes more powerful, and it also gives you data. It gives you ability to know when they need to be a certain condition by, so then along the way you can measure if they're on track. Something I always notice is, people go, oh, I want to lose weight. Okay, cool. Well, how much? It's like you want to be specific so you can actually measure what is success. What is success for the client? What is success for you as a coach? Because it can often be two very different things. So you always want to be on the same page. So that's why I've always just looked at Gen Pop transformations as just the same as a comp rep. It's just a different level of condition. It's the same thing. You're trying to improve someone's body composition. You've got a time frame to do it by. You've got weight loss, obviously fat loss from nutrition. You try and do resistance training to keep their muscle. Same principles. And too often people think, oh man, a Gen Pop's is just basic as fuck thing. They don't need to work hard, and this comp prep is this super crazy hard thing. Big thing I've noticed is people think Gen Pop is just nothing, and comp prep people think it's just the world's hardest, most advanced thing in the world. Comp prep is really fucking hard, yeah, but it's still the same basic principles of getting a great Gen Pop transformation. So the last point here, if a client has 10 kilos of weight loss and their goal is 10 weeks. For example, they have a wedding in 10 weeks and for some reason they're fixated on they have to lose 10 kilos. By knowing this date, you can then assess how they're tracking towards that goal. Are they on track? Are they behind? So often people go, oh, they've lost weight, but how much? So if their goal is 10 kilos in 10 weeks and after 5 weeks, they've lost 2 kilos, have they lost weight? Yeah, they've lost weight. That's weight loss. But are they on track to actually achieve the weight loss goal? No, they're so far behind it. Okay? So this is important. It's like saying, you've got to be somewhere, but you need to, let's say you've got to drive somewhere. I kind of use this analogy. You've got to drive across Australia and you have to go 100 k's an hour to get there in time, but you're driving 60 k's an hour. Yes, you're doing a positive thing by being in the car. Yes, you're doing a positive thing by actually moving. And yes, you're doing a positive thing by going the right direction. But in the end, you're not going to make it on time because the speed is not sufficient for the goal. So this is why, again, it's important by knowing where you want to go with the weight loss, but also when. Something I just want to quickly add here is, well, what if their goal is not realistic in that time frame? This often happens. And this is normal. So this is why, again, in your initial consult with a client, you want to be on the same page. Okay, so always finish an initial consult when you're working with a client and finish it on the same page and drill in what is the goal. So I always say, all right, cool. So at the end of this 12 weeks, our goal is X. And I keep saying it, so we're just on the same page. And if they say something ridiculous, then explain why. It's just a basic education, but you always want to be on the same page. And even when I then send them their program and their nutrition, I'm always reiterating, drilling in the goal. All right. Secret number 3, the scale is your friend. So on social media and coaches, people hate the scale. It's like, oh, scale. It's a scary thing. And for some people, the scale is that, monster under the bed. But for most people, it's not something you have to run from. And the scale for all of us can be a really, really, really simple tool to at least assess where they're at. It's just fucking data. And it's great to be like, oh, we've got tape measurements and we can do girth measurements and we can do body fat measurements. But the scale is still so simple. And the more ways we can do simple things to get good solid data, the better. So simple is good. Body fat and all those things are so, DEXA scans and all that stuff, accuracy is not super strong, and you can use skin folds and whatnot. But the scale can be a tool that can make people feel worse, but it can also be really powerful to help them feel like they're on the right track. And this is something we want to use. So people say, yes, it's meaningless. It doesn't, define your self-worth. Correct. The scale fluctuates and therefore it doesn't matter. Well, it does fluctuate, but as long as you know that, and this is why, again, using the scale daily can be a fantastic thing, and explaining it, not just having a client use the scale once a week, for example. So all these statements on the screen, they're all correct to some degree, but this also doesn't mean the scale is not a super correct tool for you to crush it. So why do I love the scale as a tool? As I keep going back to it. Anything simple and easy to collect data is what we want, okay? It's cheap, it's super easy to quickly get done if you're at the gym or at home, but just talking to your clients about why the scale fluctuates will help you along the way. Just because I always say oh man, well, if you just cut carbohydrates and didn't drink anything for a day, you'd lose a lot of weight. Well, yeah, no shit. But that doesn't mean that if someone is 100 kilos in my transformations and they lose 15 kilos, I can guarantee you 99.999% of the time, they're gonna look epically different in a positive way. Yes, you can play with the scale and stuff like that, but overall, guys, basics always just win out. So having, as I've said, we've looked at find the right client, we've looked at when, how much, and the scale is a tool. Is this anything earth-shattering? No, but it allows me to do this, get great results. And I also know, something I know is I've coached a lot of other coaches. I've been at gyms where I have mentored many coaches. I have education businesses that have, again, coached hundreds, thousands of coaches. And when they follow these principles, what happens? I see it firsthand, they crush it over and over again. So for me, it's also not just about, hey, this is what I do. This is my secret methods. So many coaches are using these basic strategies that I use and they're absolutely killing it. And so that's why when you're sitting here and be like, oh, that's it. Yes, but that's good, okay? No one's too advanced for the basics, all right? I kind of went over this point, so we'll skip that. Actually, wait. All right, so I just want to go back to this actually. So this way, again, I like the whole use of the when and how much, because we can then collect data along the way, and using that data, what I love, I'm a huge fan of weekly averages. All right, so people always look at, all right, how much weight have I lost? But rather than go, I need to lose, say, 12 kilos, let's say 6 kilos in 12 weeks, my goal is win the fucking week. So I love saying win the day and then win the week. I know my clients win the day by doing all the basic little things, all the boring little things well each day, they'll win that day. And then what you do, you accumulate those wins. You stack up those daily wins to then win the week. Winning the week will then mean, all right, my client, I want them to be averaging 0.5. They do perfectly, they hit 0.5, cool, tick. I don't want to focus too much on what's happening in 12 weeks. I just want to focus on those short-term wins. Short-term wins helps people feel like that goal is not so far off. Short-term wins are also amazing for your self-esteem. Doing little things, saying you're going to do it, setting little goals, achieving it, they build your self-esteem. So the more ways we can break down little wins along the way for our clients, guess what? They feel like they're on track. And when you feel like you're on track, you're more likely to stick to something. Okay, that's the big thing when coaches have these big goals. So let's say again, they want to lose 12 kilos in 12 weeks. Once we have that goal, I basically stop talking about the 12 kilos in 12 weeks. I just go 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, teaching them to win the week. Make those big goals not seem so daunting. Allow them to crush the little wins. I can't tell you enough. As a coach, it's fun saying, well done. You did a great job this week. You've ticked off the boxes and you've got results. And by just doing that, you know that your client is well on the way.